also the vibration's lifting. It is lifting because more and more people are waking up to it, and that's a big thing to counter. That really is.
Completely.
There's a lot of us.
I totally agree. If you want to know how people stay connected without corporations and without big tech, and how do we not return to the Stone Age, and what technology do we use to keep ourselves together?
Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. Good morning, even. Welcome to episode 13 of White Mirror. We've got a really nice little show in store for you today. Simon has busted his guts building up hope. And hope is what we need, Si, right? We need some hope. And it's there, isn't it? It's there in floods, really, for us. You just gotta know where to look, right?
I think so, Dave. And may I just say, you look smarter than usual. Look really nice. You've
I popped a little
made an
shirt on.
effort.
This is my Sunday best. I popped a little shirt on. It's not so good down below, though. I've got to say it. Pair of Y fronts with.
Okay, we've just lost a whole load of viewers.
Sorry, it's not really just a pair of gym shorts, honestly. But anyway, yeah, no, I thought I'd do the top half. I'll go the whole hog next week. I promise. Just before we start, as always, please like and share our content far and wide. It's very, very important for us and for you because we need to build a community that understands what we're doing, decentralization, moving away from the central sphere of control.
$1 million.
And of course, subscribe. Thank you very, very much indeed. Over to you, Simon.
Yeah, so Dave, I thought we'd call this Hope, right? Because the last one, what was it? Chaos to Hope, the end of empires.
Yeah, chaos
Right.
to hope. Here we are.
So a lot of people, as you just said, rightly so, are looking for a bit of hope. And that's really what this channel's about, I guess. And one of the main aspects that we're really covering, because I know that we've had a lot of new viewers, right, over the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
This channel is about decentralization, right? It's the opposite, as you just said, Dave, it's the opposite of centralized power. And if you ask me, I think that control and power, and you probably would agree with me, are perhaps the root, really, of all of the problems that we have in the world. And it really is that simple, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'd say as well, the beautiful thing about decentralization is you can't shut down what you can't find,
Well,
right?
and that's right. And more or less, we kind of, in this episode, we're going to kind of talk about why that is the case.
Okay, lovely.
And in fact, this episode, just so people are aware, we've got a few different topics: surveillance, nostalgia, community, resistance, and a hope for our own decentralized technologies to actually live up to the potential that we think that they might have.
Okay.
So let's have a little look. And I think one of the main problems that we've got at the moment, Dave, we've all been through a lot of pain. And I think everybody is hungry for something better. And we really are at a critical moment in time.
Yes, especially if you're awake. I'm not sure I like using that term, but if you know what's going on and you're aware of what's actually going on in the background, this has been a very painful few years.
Right.
I feel for these people, and I've been through it myself, where I went through a kind of depression really when realizing what's going on and what how the world is run and I literally had to build a Teflon suit. I managed to do it, but so that everything just bounces off me. But it's not easy. It's not easy, and if you're isolated on your own as well, it's even harder.
Yeah. And again, I guess that's why we're really trying to bring some hope into this to talk about, it doesn't matter what your vision of the future looks like. And, this sci-fi.
You love that photo.
Yeah.
That's how you want to live. I know you want to live there.
Yeah. Well, not everyone would, maybe. I don't know. Different
I'm
people
not
have
sure
different...
about that. Not sure about that uphill gardening. Not sure about
You know,
that.
everyone's got a different vision of what like a
Okay.
harmonious future might look like, and this resonates with me. But I guess I'm relatively confident that everyone watching would agree that everybody's idea of the future, it doesn't include authoritarianism or totalitarian states and that sort of thing as being their ideal future. Pretty much everyone would agree on that much.
I think most people would agree with that. That maybe some people would like to be controlled, but yeah, most people, given the choice, exactly.
Right, it's really is it's families and friends and community and unity and well, togetherness, right? That's
Yeah,
really what we're all hoping for. But
absolutely. Let us all unite.
you know, when it comes to technology at the moment, we've got this love-hate relationship going on. And, you know, we've got terms like doom scrolling, and people are totally familiar with um, the discrepancy between being all your whole life being on your phone, right? And we also get some joy from it as well. But, you know, mixed into all of that is feelings of addiction, perhaps, or realizing we can't often get away from our phones. So doom scrolling has become prevalent as a term, and
Mm.
I think that some of us are beginning to have a kind of a allergic reaction in a way to technology.
Yeah, it disturbs me when I see this posture, this new posture that
Right.
people have in their back, just from, and, also the speed at which young people can type with two thumbs.
Yeah.
I don't see anything like it, but it's incredible. But yeah, this new world posture can't be
Mm.
good.
Right. It's what worries me as well, Dave. And you know, we totally get it, right?
Yeah,
People are tired of
yeah,
being, you know, like tracked. We're nudged, manipulated, and there's talk of being debanked, locked out of various different things because everything has gone into our phones. You know,
yeah.
it's really kind of vomit inducing how much this stuff has been forced down our throats.
It's
Um,
all fear. All of it is just fear.
right.
It's creating a horrible vibration in the planet, but also the vibration's lifting. It is lifting because more and more people are waking up to it, and that's a big thing to counter. That really is.
Completely.
There's a lot of us.
I totally agree. I think it's failing. I think it's breaking. I think all the push won't work.
Yeah,
Um, but what the effect that it really is having is that you know some people are so done with it they're switching to dumb phones and you know logging off altogether or kind of trying to get away from it as much as they can and I really like this to a certain degree the nostalgia, right, of going back to dumb phones
Hello, 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 hello.
and stuff.
those things are great. But you only have to charge them once a week or once every fortnight.
Well, now you do, right? If you buy one of these now, I don't know if you've had anything like this in the last few years, but the batteries
Yeah.
in those days they maybe lasted a couple of days like they do now, but the batteries of today, when you put them in those phones, they really last weeks and weeks. Um, that's incredible.
Yeah, we've gone a step too far. We need to click back a bit.
But getting these photos together for this slide, though, mate, it really made me smile. It's so nostalgic. And I guess there really is a good place for this. I like the fact that people are kind of going back, especially young people, right? Young people are picking up these things and going, that's cool, you know, and playing with
Yeah.
them and you know, adopting them in certain places. And there really is a place for this.
Well, if it becomes cool, vinyl's back for, why not this? The one on the right is the one I had. I had that one on the right, the one you've darkened a bit.
Yeah, there's a few of them. I think I had quite a few. That one, the blue one, that was pretty much mine. Not that's not
Yeah.
my phone, but that one like
Yeah.
that. Do you remember Snake and making your own ringtones and stuff like that?
Yeah, remember all that. Do you know what? I had a mate who just got a mobile phone. I'd had mine about 6 months. And every time he rang me, I said, Hi, Jack. Hi, Jack. And he went, How do you know? How do you know it's me?
That's brilliant. Good
Oh,
old days.
yeah, he didn't realise your name popped up. But yeah, it's great to see those things. We're only going back 20 years, right? Or 25,
Yeah,
maybe.
something like that.
Yeah, a
But
bit more.
this is not the solution. There is a solution, but I don't think it's that. And but generally, I do. I kind of got a bit carried away. You're gonna have to forgive me. I love nostalgia. I love
I love them
90s,
watches.
80s. Did you have one of these?
Of course.
I'm wearing mine right now. So,
Oh,
but
you geek.
Casio's, yeah. But there
Do
was
you use
so
that?
much fun.
You use that for your train spotting, Si. Make sure you get the 1202 from Clapham.
Oh my god. Holy sh!
This is, this is all before tech got totally dominated, right? And before tech converged. And there is a point for these slides, because if you remember at this time, every single gadget, it made quite a big difference, and it felt like something had changed, and it was still fun. Tech was decentralized, right? There was so many producers. There weren't just a few major ones.
Mm, yeah.
Innovation was everywhere. And hi-fis as well were really cool in those days. Massive.
Yeah, I had a stack system. Oh man, I loved it.
Nice. Let's crank it.
They just did so much stuff. They had to be big, right? Because there were like tapes and the CDs and vinyl, like you just mentioned, and
Yeah,
so many
yeah, yeah.
buttons. It was just a really cool time.
It
And
was.
computing, especially, that was a really special time for me personally, because I felt that's when it was most tangible. Computing was real, right? And it's what got me so motivated. And I still love computers today, right? But they really screwed it up for us, if you ask me, and by literally using computing against us.
Yeah, but it's second nature as well now. It's not as exciting as it used to be. Those days then, they were so exciting
Yeah, but I
and
think
bloody expensive as well.
I think there's a reason though for this though, and it's because of this slide, mate. I it's not a conspiracy. We all know that social media, we're the product, etc. But everything did converge, right? You had your digital watches that I mentioned. You had MP3 players and home computers and
Yeah,
basic mobile phones. They all converged, didn't they, into one soulless little black box, right?
yeah, yeah.
And this is this is the problem. And because we know what happened after that, big tech came in, this all happened, and we know where that went, right? Algorithms, feeds,
Yeah.
um, we became the product.
Well, we became spied on. That's the actual truth.
Mm-hmm.
We opened up all these little things that we agree to, these terms and conditions. We're just saying, yeah, you can spy on me. Of course you can.
Mm-hmm. But as I mentioned, people are switching off, or like dreaming of off-grid living and rejecting technology altogether. But that isn't the answer. We can't, although it's appealing, right? Looking at a picture of a log cabin and having solar panels, sometimes that's kind of quite an appealing idea to me.
I often wonder how long people would last in a situation like that. I think I'd be all right with it for a while, but I know some people who can't even change a tire on a car, and that a wheel on a car, and that is worrying.
Yeah, the answer isn't off-grid living or a rejection of technology, although I guess it is quite appealing sometimes. The idea of solar panels and living off-grid.
I think it'd be appealing for a little while. I mean, a lot of people think we don't have any choice, and this is what's coming, but I don't believe that for a moment.
Right. Absolutely. We can't do it. And not only that, if we tried, then that someone's going to come along eventually with technology and attempt to take control and centralize things again. And many people will fall into that trap. So we can't go back to the Stone Age. We can't go off grid, because then we would always be back. It's back at square one again. So I don't think it's anything like this. So in that case, what is the solution? Well, all the problems that we've faced for the last 5,000 years, and you know that we've covered it all in the End of Empires series, Dave.
Yeah.
They can all be summed up with one word, and that's centralization. Or if we say this in 3 words, centralization of power. So if that's the problem, it stands to reason, right, that the solution would, of course, be what this show's all about, which is decentralization. The world that we live in is dominated by centralized control. So that's why we haven't seen it. And a lot of us don't really know what this could look like. But I promise by the end of this video, Dave, I really want to kind of clarify exactly how this works and what we mean. Keep in mind, I think all of this was inevitable, right? And we've discussed again, I know I keep referencing the End of Empires series, but we've seen it for 5,000 years. It's a cycle, and it is human nature because power always corrupts. It's happened again and again and again. So the question is, are we destined just to keep repeating this cycle? I think we just have to acknowledge that this is a trait of all humans, and it does come from fear. It comes from a desire to control the world around us, right? And there is no end to the amount of control that one feels that one might need. Whether you're just controlling you and your family, or whether you start to feel that you are looking after an entire population. At what point does that looking after start to look a great deal like a nanny state, or a fear of whatever it might be? So I have several questions, right? How do humans organize themselves without hierarchies if this was not the case? How do we prevent the next centralized power from rising, assuming this is the end of this particular empire? And how do we ensure fairness? How do we work collectively together? How do we create good incentive structures? And of course, how do we care for one another, right? Without this idea of centralization.
Yeah.
And so this brings us to the solution, right? And Dave, it's already here. We've talked about it. We talk about it all the time in the channel. It's been here since 2008. And the word is blockchain, right? And this is where I worry that a lot of people start to switch off. But if you want to know how people stay connected without corporations and without big tech, and how do we not return to the Stone Age, and what technology do we use to keep ourselves together, I would hope that people keep watching, because if they're over 5 years old, this is easy to understand, because I'm going to do a EILI5, explain it like I'm 5, right?
Anybody that sounds perfect for me.
Right, I know, mate. This is just for you. So anyone can run a blockchain node. That's the main thing, right? A blockchain node. You don't need to have a company, and you don't need to have a lot of cash. Anybody can do it. So just let's say a person in the US runs a blockchain node. And I'm going to come on to what this means in a second. But he connects to another person in the United Kingdom, right, who may be running another node. And in turn, he connects to his mate Dave in Europe, right, let's say. And another everyday person in India, perhaps, he hears about this community that's starting to build, and he wants to join in. He joins in and runs a blockchain node. And he gets his mate in Australia involved, right? And we connect ourselves together, right? So what we're doing here, we form a network, okay? But what are these nodes? What does that mean? So at the lowest level, blockchain is really, really simple. Imagine a group chat, and everyone is aware of WhatsApp group chats, right? Imagine a group chat, and these friends that I've been talking about all over the world, they all see the same thing. the data that they have is replicated on everyone's phone, right? Anyone can send a message and no one can change the past. No one is the leader. There's no central server. So it's actually not really like WhatsApp at this point, because it's not stored on any Google or Facebook central servers that might belong to big tech. That is not the case, because in this network, it's all just data that is cloned between each computer. It's just cloned information. So if you're imagining this, you're still imagining this group chat, the same information exists cloned everywhere around the world, right?
Okay.
This is as simple as the blockchain actually really is. But all these nodes are just, because they haven't got a central big tech server, they're just gossiping between them. This is called peer-to-peer, right?
Okay, yeah.
Peer-to-peer. There's no middleman, right? And instead of phones, these are computers. And instead of the chat, they're sending little transactions. And don't let that word transaction put you off, because a transaction is really just pretty much anything. It's like a little box with a message inside it, right? And that message could be anything. It could just be, hello, Dave, stored in a message. Remember we talked about Satoshi as well, when he put that first message in the Genesis block. Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks. That was just a message that had been stored in the blockchain. So we could put anything in there. But it could also be moving money from person A to person B, right? Moving a token from Dave to Sai, or Sai to Dave. Perhaps because I bought a cabbage from your decentralized market stall, Dave, that I know you want to open.
I can't wait.
You lovingly grew that cabbage by hand, right? It's on your stall, and I come.
I just want to. I want to polish apples. I want to spend the rest of my life polishing apples.
How do you like them apples?
Don't think of the blockchain like it's just for the big players. It can be all of us just communicating, running a blockchain node, running the software, and having these transactions sent between us. It's not for the big players. It's our technology. And that's what I would really like to stress. So towards the end of this episode now, I want to just return to answer a few of my own questions. How do humans organize themselves without hierarchies? And how do we prevent centralized power? Well, the answer is they come together, right, in blockchain. Blockchain at the root is so simple. It's not complicated. It's just those messages in a peer-to-peer fashion being stored in a chronological history. And we clone it all and we move it around the globe, right?
Just to say, the interface can be like WhatsApp, right? It can be that simple.
Well, anything sits on top of it.
With.
Anything can sit on top of it. This channel is to talk about, the pure facts. And it is so simple at its root that we can put anything on top of it once we have the infrastructure in place.
Okay.
Yeah, so it could be messages. We can put an app on top of that reads from the blockchain. It has messaging. Social media can sit on top of it. Decentralized finance sits on top of it. Right? DeFi. It all sits on top of the idea that we've already got a peer-to-peer network that's everything's shared. There's no leader, no centralized power, and it's uncorruptible from that perspective.
Right.
Right. Now, finally, there's one last thing. What would we do? Because I know this is a concern, and you and I have talked about this just recently, Dave.
Yeah.
If they take over our network, right? This is something that's circulating online recently, and you've expressed, Dave, your concern about what happens, right?
Well, not just mainstream, but influencers and lots of people are talking about this. Yeah.
Well, I want us to do a specific episode, and it might be the next one, Dave, that explains exactly why, in the long run, that is absolute nonsense. And this episode, Dave, I want to call it, appropriately enough, nonsense. Why decentralization can't be centralized, right?
Right.
Because I really want to make it very, very clear that concepts such as decentralization and blockchain, at their root, are uncorruptible, right?
Okay.
So this is really important, and I know this is the end of this episode, but
Well, I have a question,
yeah, of course, mate.
very important question.
Yeah.
And this is a question that people have been asking me. And that is, what if they switch off the internet?
Well, if that is the case, I would say that we are screwed everywhere in that case. And do you know what? Do you know why I don't think it's going to happen? Because all of the control systems that globalist elites might be using to move us towards a centralized structure that they would prefer, those will also go offline as well. So I never think that we will lose the internet unless it's something, some sort of natural occurrence, or maybe solar, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But
isn't there, I mean, isn't the blockchain also has a solution to that, right?
Well, much like the internet, right? It operates in the same way. One node can go down, 2 nodes, 10 nodes. As long as some nodes remain active, then the blockchain remains active because it's cloned everywhere again and again and again. Okay? So
you're talking about peer-to-peer connections?
Yes, peer-to-peer and resilient networks.
Brazilian? Right, okay. I didn't know they were good at this.
Resilient.
Okay, yeah. No, but it's really interesting, and this is what people are going to be asking. Okay, look, what if this happens? What if that happens? Well, from what I've learned through all the episodes that we've done, that the blockchain caters for this problem as long as we adopt it, as long as it's adopted, and adoption is the key here, right?
Right.
Adoption, and everything's there already, and we already own it. It's all there. We have to adopt it, and we have to start using it for these things to work. And a peer-to-peer internet network is already available. It's already there at our fingertips.
Yeah.
As long as we adopt it, as long as we start understanding it, right?
So that's what nonsense will be about. If you guys want to watch that on the next episode, we'll start going into a little bit more. But I'm going to always keep this channel very straightforward, because if everyday people don't understand the blockchain, then what is the point, right?
Yeah, that's the whole point of the channel, is to help people understand what an important thing this is. It is so important. The blockchain is the hope that we've been talking about, and that's what this episode is all about. This is our hope. This is how we organize. This is how we don't, kind of go back to bartering when everything collapses. There's an inevitable collapse. And, that's the hope as well. But, we don't go back to barter like in the old days, and, certain people running things in certain areas and egos taking over and stuff like that. It can't happen with the blockchain. It can't happen. So we really, really need to adopt this. We really need to start understanding it. And that's what Simon and I are trying to do. I mean, I don't really understand much, but I do understand how important this is, and how important episodes like this is, and what the work that Simon's doing. So, thanks again, Si.
Thanks, Dave.
As always, please like and share our content, subscribe. That is enormous for us, because we need everybody to understand, as I've just explained, and adopt. We can help you. We can help you go through all that. Any questions in the comments, more than welcome, and Si will answer them. I can't really do much about that, or maybe a bit. But anyway, thanks again, Si, and looking forward to nonsense.
See you, mate.
See ya. Ta-da. Ta-da.